All right, guys. So in the last video, we were talking about understanding your camera, why you shouldn't just arbitrarily upgrade to a camera, why understanding your camera can take your photography game to the next level, providing you the image quality that you want. So you'll stop thinking about how much money that you're not getting. Instead, think about what you're not doing as a photographer to get the image that you want. With that being said, today we're going to be talking about understanding your camera in a different sense. Now, my camera, like I said before, is the 7D Mark One. The 7D Mark One is it's a beast of a camera in my opinion. When it first came out, the reason that a family member got it, they saw Kai from Digital Rail set the 7D Mark One on fire, and the 7D Mark One on fire was like, oh my goodness, and it still worked. That was like the biggest thing I have ever seen in a camera. Not only did it respond, but it was working. It was actually showing images on that burnt screen. With that being said, 70 Mark One revolutionized. With that being said, the 70 Mark One revolutionized my photography world. It was able to take the images that I wanted at a speed that I wanted it at. Now, the thing about it is, I do a lot of event photography, but I thought as a photographer when I was growing up and growing into my photography skill that I needed to be able to capture the moment more than anything else. That's all I knew as a photographer. I also wanted to capture the beauty of landscapes and stuff like that. But landscape photography, I think, is not as hard as event portraiture and things of that nature because when you have people in the shot, it's in the public scrutiny. You have personal scrutiny happening in those images where people are like, "Oh, I don't like this," and you might think as a photographer it's one of the best images you ever took, but that person looks at themselves almost every day, or those people feel them, they know themselves every day. They feel, they have self-esteem, so that could be wrecked or that could be boosted based off of how you take that image. With that being said, I got into the 70 because I knew I could capture those moments, the hugs, the kisses, the crying, the laughter, the joy, the happiness, the sorrow sometimes. You have to understand that being able to capture an image was paramount to me as a photographer. That's why I invested in that camera. So when people say, "Oh, well, Devin, you spend a lot of time telling us we shouldn't be upgrading to a camera or a DSLR," you have a DSLR. Well, yes, but I understood exactly why I needed that DSLR before I bought it. I knew about photography. I'd actually had a DSLR before that, an XT1 or whatever. It was a really basic DSLR that Canon had that, it was like a 10 megapixel camera or whatever at the time. But the thing about it is, I understood that camera. I had been shooting with that camera for about a year and a half, and not just shooting it just when I felt like it was time to shoot. No, no, I shot it pretty much like almost every day. I was going on, around the college campus. I was doing things with it. I was taking pictures of different flowers, all kinds of different things. Anytime somebody asked me to take a picture, I was taking a picture. Pictures, picture, picture. People knew more about my pictures than they even knew of me. They didn't even know my own name, but they knew I was the camera guy. My name became the camera guy. That's how many pictures I took because practice, 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 reps, reps, reps. In the immortal words of Allen Iverson, practice? We're talking about practice? Yes, practice. A lot of people now want that immediate gratification where, oh, I want to see results. I want to get exactly what I want to get. And it doesn't happen that way. And not only that, we can't even take constructive criticism. I even to this day have problems taking constructive criticism. The more you work at something, the less you want to give it up, the less you want to concede to making a mistake, things of that nature, or admit to making a mistake. So with that being said, it's a lot of things that you have to understand as a photographer growing. So it's not just about the new gear, even though manufacturers make it seem that way, even though new photographers make it seem that way, because we want, as a new photographer, we want the nicest, shiniest looking picture. Of course you do. We're living in a day and age where you can get an image that's close to, if not better than actual reality. Whereas not only like 25 years ago, that was not even possible. In somebody's lifetime living right now, that wasn't even possible. So now that we can get a camera and just click on the auto mode and get some of the best pictures of reality, is mind-boggling. So of course you'll want that. Of course you'll want some of the best cameras. I'm not saying don't have that camera. I am saying make sure you understand exactly what you are doing and why you want that camera. It's like going to college. It's fun going to college. It's fun, the parties, the academics, meeting people, going out places, going meeting, seeing people in outfits, for, business casual, business professional, seeing people going to job fairs, doing all this stuff, waking up when you want to, spending the time how you want to, studying and doing it's all accomplishing. It's very surreal, college. But the thing about college is you need to understand what you need to do before you actually get in the doors of the college. So by the time you get out of college, you already have the degree that you want. You already have everything that you want. You have that 4.0, or you'll have that dean's list or whatever you want, and you'll be able to have leads to the next business or company that you want, because a lot of people now get out of college and, a lot like me, they don't actually want either the job, or they are struggling to find the exact job that matches their major. So with that being said, you have to understand that in the context of your photography, that you have to understand exactly what you want before you matriculate to the next level. You see what I'm saying? You need to know exactly what you want out of that camera. That camera is just a tool. It's just a tool. Even though I love Canon cameras, I love Panasonic cameras. There's some Nikon cameras that I kind of like, but I love Sony cameras. I love all these manufacturers and the things that they're doing. But at the end of the day, I won't buy a camera unless I have foolproof knowledge that it can do everything I needed to do. Matter of fact, the 7D getting caught on fire was one of the qualifying factors that I needed for the 7D Mark One. Why? Because I try my best, but I am not good at taking care of cameras. So I needed something sturdy. I needed something, that could stand to get a little banged around, So with that being said, I have big hands too. So that camera fits right well in my hands. It makes me feel like I'm actually taking control of my entire scene. And as a photographer, that confidence is paramount to you actually being able to get an image. If you're able to control your scene and be confident over the scene, the people that are around you, and not be shy and not be afraid to actually release that shutter, I'm the kind of person that takes pictures first and asks questions later. Like, you have to understand me. Like, I want to be able to show people the pictures. Like, I, in my mind, I am the photographer. So anything that was able to bring me that feeling, I think the 7D Mark One really has done that for me over the past, 8 years that I've probably been shooting with this camera. I haven't even been counting. But with that being said, you just really have to understand what you're getting into, guys. Really, really understand. And I'm not just talking about practice now. I am talking about something so much deeper. Why do you do photography? Why do you want to get this camera? These cameras are expensive nowadays, and it's not because they're better cameras. It's just because manufacturers just want the money nowadays. People think that cameras are now the godsend, and they're one of the best things that ever hit the planet. Once you upgrade, oh my goodness, there's a new upgrade. It's the best camera in the world. It has ISO 1 gazillion, and it has a megapixel 100,000, things of that nature. And it's really not all about the hype, guys. Don't believe the hype. Like, you have to understand these cameras and what they can do, but you have to understand what independent variables you have to master to get the camera to do not only what you want it to do, but actually show you as a photographer. Because it's not just the picture. That picture is a reflection of you as a photographer. I'm going to tell you a short story, guys. I was taking a picture of a friend of mine, his mother, and his mother was at his daughter's graduation party, and he says, "Oh, my mother, she came into town. She doesn't live in the same town we live in. My daughter's going off to college. I'm glad you're here to take pictures at my daughter's graduation party." Her mother was there. His mother was there. Thinking that, so her grandma's here, and she's coming into town or whatever. So my client's grandmother, or the father's mother, came into town. This is the grandmother same person I'm talking about. So she comes into town, and I take pictures and everything like that. The next month, I noticed on Facebook they have posts saying that she passed away. With that being said, you have to understand who you are as a photographer. The fact that I had the 7D and was able to operate the way I wanted to, it was able to get an image that was satisfactory to me, at the time, even though I was in an environment where didn't really know anybody, not too many people that I knew in that environment, and I didn't want to take pictures of everybody, but at the same time, I got pictures that he was satisfied to the point where, I was satisfied as well, because if I took a picture with the 7D and I didn't like it, I was just not have, sent it to him. But I knew what I needed to do to get it done. But at the end of the day, when I met him, like, a month after, or I saw him a month after his mother had passed, he says, oh, yes, you were the last person to see her when we were the last person to see her. So with that being said, who are you as a photographer? What is your work going to do? What is your work going to do for other people? How is it going to change their life? Do you know your camera? You see what I'm saying? Do you know that instrument? You see what I'm saying? When your instrument can capture somebody's life, and then you can actually go back and say, oh my goodness, I added value to their lives because I knew the tool that I was using. You didn't just scrape the picture up and get it not underexposed, but unfocused and stuff like that. DSLRs are really, really stingy about focus. If you screw up a focus on a full frame DSLR, you're screwed. You're not going to want to show anybody that picture, because it'll be so blurry that they won't even want to, they might as well use their cell phone. So my thing is, do you understand your device? Does somebody have to come back with a cell phone to clean up your DSLR mess, your full frame mess that you thought that you could buy a full frame camera and get the image quality that you thought? I don't even have a full frame camera. Now, I've used full frame cameras. I've rented them for such occasions that needed full frame cameras. But here's the thing. I understood the full frame camera long before I even bought the full frame camera. I understood why they were called full frame cameras. I understood why they were called DSLRs. I understood what lenses that I needed. I understood what apertures would do what, I understood how to use that camera in certain contexts, how to use their focus points, how to nail focus before I actually even thought about purchasing a DSLR. So with that being said, guys, really understand not only your camera, but understand how your ability to use your camera can affect someone's life. Like, photography is a really big deal now more than ever. And a lot of people don't even stop to think about it. They just see a picture and they just think it's a picture. But there's a lot of times where in my photography career that people have died and they were glad that I was there to take, their loved ones' pictures. I'm Devin with Central Effects Studios, and I'll see you next time.